Jake Nolan knew the block because the coffee shop on the corner put out a bucket of ice water for dogs and sometimes let him refill his thermos. He usually stayed in the alley behind the hardware store after closing. On that Saturday, he was walking past the blue house with the white porch when he smelled something sharp and wrong, like hot plastic and oil. He stopped and listened. A smoke alarm chirped through a closed window. Then came a higher sound, and animal sound, panicked barking from inside the house. He stepped onto the lawn and looked through the front window. Gray smoke rolled along the ceiling. The living room lights were off. The barking picked up from the back of the house, fast and hoarse. He banged on the front door and shouted. No answer. He turned the knob. Locked. He checked the porch mat, the flower pot, the top of the frame. No key. He tried a window. Also locked. The barking had turned into a broken, desperate sound. Hang on, he said out loud to a dog he couldn't see. He grabbed the porch chair, jammed it under the window next to the door, and hit the corner of the glass with his elbow through his jacket sleeve. It didn't break. He wrapped his jacket over his fist and hit again. The pain spidered. He knocked out the shards with the chair leg, reached in, and turned the deadbolt. Smoke slid out as soon as he cracked the door. He coughed, pulled his shirt over his mouth, and dropped low. Heat pressed at his face. He could hear the fire, but couldn't see flame yet, just a glow in the hallway. Here, he called. Come on, boy, he clapped twice. A brown dog, medium size, collar, shaking hard, appeared from the hallway, skidding on wood, coughing. The dog didn't come all the way at first. It kept looking back down the hall. The glow was brighter now. Something popped. Let's go, Jake said. He crouched, held out his hand, and moved backward toward the open door. The dog came forward in a burst, then stopped again at the edge of the rug and barked at him, like it wanted him to follow. Jake saw why. A second bark, smaller, came from the back. He swore under his breath and dropped lower. He crawled to the kitchen. The heat was worse there. Smoke hugged the ceiling in a thick layer. Flames licked from behind the stove and along a set of paper grocery bags on the counter. A plastic bowl had melted into a shiny puddle. Near the back door, under a table, a small tan dog was wedged, leash tangled around a chair leg. Eyes wild, the tan dog tried to pull, but couldn't move. Jake slid under the table, hands low, working blind, and freed the leash. He tucked the little dog against his chest and backed out. He could feel the hair on his knuckles tighten from heat. In the living room, the bigger dog hovered and then trotted next to him like it had decided to trust. They made it to the porch. Fresh air hit hard. Both dogs coughed. The big one shook and leaned into Jake's leg. He clipped the loose leash to the big dog's collar so they wouldn't bolt into the street. Stay, he said, and set them by the porch railing. He needed to call 911. His own cell was dead since yesterday. He looked at the street. No one was out. He looked back into the house and saw a phone on the coffee table, black case, screen face down. He hesitated 1 second, then stepped in, grabbed the phone, and came back out. He woke the screen. It was locked. He tried the emergency call button and dialed 911. What's your emergency? House fire, he said, giving the address off the mailbox. To dogs out safe. I think the kitchen is going. Is anyone inside? Not that I can tell. Are you in danger? I'm outside. It's spreading. Please send fire. Units are on the way. Stay on the line. He saw a framed photo by the TV through the doorway. A woman in a police uniform kneeling with a brown dog at a K9 training day sign. The same dog now pressed against his leg. The plate on the console table read Carter. He put it together. Can you contact the owner? He asked the dispatcher. Officer Carter. The dog's hers. I'll notify responding officers, the dispatcher said. Do not go back inside. I won't, he said. A neighbor burst out of the house next door in shorts and a hoodie. Phone up. Hey, the neighbor yelled. What are you doing? That's Officer Carter's place. Fire, Jake said, pointing. He held up the 2 leashes. Got the dogs. The neighbor kept filming, backing up, and yelled to someone inside to call 911. Sirens were already faint in the distance. Jake looked down at the dogs. The bigger one wore a tag that said Scout. The smaller tag read Dot. He repeated the names. It calmed them a notch. Engines turned onto the block. A ladder truck pulled up, then a black and white, then another. Firefighters moved with practiced speed. Police set a line. People gathered. Someone shouted, That's the guy. He broke the window. A different voice yelled. He said it. He held up his hands, leashes looped on his wrist. I called 911, he said, voice loud and even. Dogs are out. Officer Ramirez, a patrol cop Jake had seen around downtown, came in a jog. Put the phone down, Ramirez said, hand at his belt. Step over here. Jake nodded and stepped to the curb. I used the house phone to call 911, he said. It's on the porch railing. I'm not taking it. Ramirez looked at the broken window, the front door, then at Jake's smoky clothes and soot on his hands. He glanced at the neighbors still filming. Turn around, Ramirez said. Hands behind your back. Jake didn't argue. He put the leashes in Ramirez's hand first. They're scared, he said. Hold tight. The cuffs clicked. It wasn't brutal, but it wasn't friendly. A second patrol officer, Hines, took the porch phone into an evidence bag. Call log shows 911 call, Hines said to Ramirez. Block screen. Who are you? Ramirez asked Jake. Jake Nolan, he said. I sleep by the hardware store sometimes. I was walking by. I heard the alarm. A fire captain jogged over. We've got a quick knock on the kitchen, she said to Ramirez. Smells like accelerant near the back door. Back door frames kick. We'll confirm after overhaul. Accelerant, the neighbor repeated, as if narrating to his own video. Back up, Ramirez said. A black SUV squealed in, stopped half-cocked at the curb, and a young woman in plain clothes jumped out, hair pulled back, badge on a chain. She looked around once, saw the dogs, saw the cuffs on Jake, and crossed to them fast. Scout, she said, and the brown dog lunged toward her. She dropped to a knee and hugged him. The smaller dog pressed into her side. She looked up at Jake, then at Ramirez. What is going on? She asked. He was at the door when we arrived, Ramirez said. Witness says he broke in. Possible accelerant inside. We're sorting it. He called me, she said. Ramirez blinked. What? He called 911, she said, pointing to the bagged phone. He used my landline to call me through dispatch. They patched the note. I was 2 blocks away on a call. He got my dogs out. I'm Officer Emily Carter. This is my house. Ramirez glanced at Hines, then at the fire captain, then back at Emily. The neighbor stopped narrating. Ma'am, Ramirez said carefully. We still need to figure out cause and origin. The captain smelled accelerant. Emily nodded, eyes on Jake. Do what you have to do, she said. But take off his cuffs while you do it. Ramirez hesitated, then removed them. The marks on Jake's wrist were red. He rubbed them once. Thank you, Emily told him. Dogs did the hard part, he said. The big one wouldn't leave until I got the little one. Emily looked like she might smile. But the moment didn't fit. She stood, clipped both leashes to her belt, and faced the fire captain. You smelled accelerant, she asked. Back door, the captain said. And we've got a footprint in soot near the threshold that doesn't match your guy's shoes. We'll let Arson take it. Back door was locked when I left, Emily said. If it's kicked, someone was in my kitchen. Jake cleared his throat. I saw someone earlier, he said. Before the alarm, Emily turned to him. Where? Half an hour before the smoke, he said. Guy in a gray hoodie and ball cap cut down the side yard like he knew the gate. I was behind the coffee shop dumpsters sorting cardboard. He didn't look around. He just went in quick. You see his face? Ramirez asked. Not clean, Jake said. But I saw the cap. Black with a white M on it, like a high school team. And he had a dark line on his wrist. Tattoo or bracelet. Right side. He held his phone in his left hand. That's what stuck out. Most people are right-handed on their phone. Emily looked at Ramirez. We need the corner store cameras and the dentist office camera. They both face my side street. Ramirez nodded and radioed. Hines walked the side yard with a flashlight and called back. Back gate latches bent. Footprints in damp dirt. An arson investigator arrived, photographed the back door, swabbed near the threshold, and looked at the stove area. Point of origin is back here. Not on the stove, he said to the captain. Burn patterns low, V-shape near the door. And this. He picked up a melted plastic ring. Cap from a cheap gaskin. Emily exhaled through her nose. So someone set my kitchen. The neighbor finally put his phone down. Sorry, he said to nobody in particular. Another black and white pulled up. Sergeant Walters stepped out, took a quick read of the scene, and asked Emily if she needed medical. She waved him off. I'm fine, she said. The dogs are coughing, but okay. Walters looked at Jake. You went in the house? Broke a window, unlocked, pulled the dogs, Jake said. Called 911 from the table. Sat on the porch. That's it. Walters nodded. We'll need a statement. Give him water first, Emily said. And my thanks. A paramedic checked Jake with a pen light, listened to his breathing, and handed him a water bottle. Jake drank slow, watching the block reset its pace. He didn't like standing still in crowds, but he didn't want to walk away from this one yet. The detectives from the Violent Crimes Unit arrived. Cruz and Nolan no relation. They listened to the arson investigator, took Emily aside for a brief summary, then asked Jake to walk them through what he saw. He kept it clear and short. Smell, alarm, barking, window, dogs. Call, shadow in the side yard earlier. Black cap with white M, left-handed with phone. Bracelet or tattoo on right wrist. Cruz wrote fast. You said you know this block, she said. You see that hoodie before? Not him, Jake said. But I saw a black Mitsubishi with a broken rear light circle twice earlier this week. Same side street. At night. Plate. Couldn't read it. One of the bulbs was out on the right. Cruz nodded. We'll check traffic cams. An officer jogged up with quick news. Corner store owner is on site, he said. He can pull his camera. They crossed to the store. The owner, Mr. Patel, unlocked the back office and clicked through footage. The side street camera showed a timestamp 30 minutes before the fire. A man in a gray hoodie and black cap moved along Emily's fence, then through her side gate with his head down. The cap had a white M on it. On his right wrist, a black band. On his left hand, a phone. He didn't look around. Freeze, Cruz said. Zoom the wrist. The band had a small metal rectangle like a fitness tracker. The man turned briefly at the gate. The camera caught a partial profile and a scar near his ear. Emily leaned closer. The air in the small office felt thin. I know that scar, she said. Marcus Hale. He caught an elbow when we took him down 2 years ago. I testified. Robbery with a weapon. He did 18 months. Got out 3 weeks ago. Cruz looked at Nolan. Pull Hale's release address. Check probation contacts. Put a unit on it. Nolan stepped into the hallway and made the call. Back on the sidewalk. The block was a different kind of busy. The fire was out. The house vented smoke out of broken windows. Tape went up. Neighbors drifted back inside. Emily stood with Scout and Dot and petted both without looking down, mine far ahead. She turned to Jake. You saved them, she said again, simple. They saved themselves, he said. I just opened a door. Still counts, she said. And you called. Didn't want them to come alone into it, he said, glancing at the house. She nodded. Do you have somewhere to sleep tonight? Usually, yeah, he said. Behind the hardware store. You're coughing, she said. Let the medic check you once more, then go to the shelter on King Street. I'll call ahead and cover a bed. He shook his head. You don't have to do that. I want to, she said. It's clean and quiet, and the night manager won't ask questions. He didn't argue again. Okay, he said. Thank you. Nolan returned from the call. Hale missed his last check-in, he said to Cruz and Emily. Probation officer has been trying him. He's got a cousin on Wilcox who drives a black Mitsubishi. Plate ends in 7QF. Let's go, Cruz said. They found the car an hour later. Parked 2 blocks from the cousin's house. The right rear light was out. The hood was warm. Hale was inside the house, pacing. He didn't run when they knocked. He tried to talk. The fitness tracker was on his wrist. His hoodie was gray. His cap had a white M. His shoes matched the soot print from Emily's back door. His cousin tried to claim the car. The cousin stopped talking when Cruz read a list of charges that made the air in the room feel heavy. At the station, Hale cracked faster than expected. He said he only wanted to scare her. He said he didn't know the dogs were there. He said he poured a little gas and thought it would burn the floor and go out. He said a lot of things people say when evidence has already lined up to fill the blanks. The arson investigator matched the gas can brand from the cousin's garage with the melted cap in Emily's kitchen, the camera footage from the corner store, and the dentist office pinned Hale at the gate. The neighbor's camera caught the Mitsubishi's broken light along the curb minutes before smoke showed at the eaves. Hale's probation officer confirmed the scar and the tracker band. The line from arrest to motive to opportunity was straight. By midnight, the block was quiet again. The tape still fluttered at Emily's porch, but the trucks were gone. The house smelled like wet drywall and bad plastic. Emily stood on the sidewalk with a cardboard box from the neighbor dog bowls to leashes. A framed photo that didn't break. Jake stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, eyes on the dogs. Scout pressed his head into Jake's knee once, and then settled at Emily's heel. "You going to be okay tonight?" Jake asked. "I'll stay with a friend," she said. "The department will board up. Insurance will do the rest." He nodded. He looked at the house, at the porch where he had set the phone, at the window he broke, now covered in plywood. "Sorry about the glass," he said. "I'm not," she said. "You picked the right pain." They stood without talking for a minute. "I know how this looks most days," Jake said finally. "Man like me on a porch like this. People point first. I get that. Doesn't make it fun." "I'm sorry you were cuffed," Emily said. "I would have made the same call if I had rolled up blind. I hate that I'm telling you that. I hate that it's true." He nodded. "You did fix it." "I did," she said. "And I'll put it in my report exactly how it happened. You called, you pulled the dogs, you described Hale, and the cameras backed you up." He shrugged. "Do what you do. Do you need anything?" she asked. "A meal, a ride, a jacket without a hole?" "I need a good night of quiet," he said. "The shelter will help with that." She handed him a folded card. "If anyone gives you trouble there, show this. It's just a note with my name on it." "Thanks," he said, tucking it in his pocket without looking. She crouched and rubbed Scout's ears. "Say thank you to Jake," she said to the dog like it wasn't silly. Scout thumped his tail and looked up at Jake with the uncomplicated focus dogs have. When they decide a person is okay. Jake reached out, then let Scout bump his hand with his nose. Dot sniffed his shoe and sneezed. "Be good," he told them. He looked at Emily. "You too." She smiled, small and real. "You too," she said back. He walked toward King Street, shoulders loose for the first time all day. He felt the cough in his chest and the tired in his legs, but the night air tasted clean again. He passed the coffee shop where he sometimes charged his old phone. The barista inside was wiping a counter. She looked up, saw the soot on his jacket, and gave him a curious look. He lifted a hand. She waved back and pointed at the tip jar like a joke. He smiled and kept going. At the shelter, the night manager glanced at the card and nodded him in. The bunk was narrow and the blanket thin, but the room was quiet. He lay down and thought about flame pulling sideways when a door opens, and about a big dog that wouldn't leave without a little one, and about a cop who didn't leave a man under a label once the facts showed up. He slept out in the morning. Emily sent a short email to her supervisor with a timeline and attachments, 911 call log, arson notes, photos, camera stills, and one line she added that didn't fit any form, but needed to be there. "The caller used my house phone after rescuing my dogs. He was initially detained and then released." His statement was accurate and led directly to identification of the suspect. Her supervisor wrote back, "Glad you're safe. Good work. Dog's okay." She typed, "Yes, both okay." Hale was arraigned on arson, attempted burglary, animal cruelty, and violation of probation. The judge set bail high. The prosecutor added a count for retaliating against a witness, based on Emily's prior case. Hale's public defender argued about intent. The video on the gate and the melted cap didn't care about intent. Jake went back to the hardware store alley and picked up a few shifts sweeping for cash under the table because the manager had seen him on the block and decided a man who runs into fire might also show up on time. He did. A week later, Emily found him by the loading dock with a broom. She had Scout with her on a day off. "I owe you lunch," she said. "No speeches. Just a burger and a chair." He leaned the broom against the wall. "Okay," he said. No speeches. They sat on a bench where they could see the street. She told him the rebuild schedule and the part of the kitchen the fire spared. He told her about a patch of grass near the shelter where the morning sun hit the fence just right and warmed your back. They ate and didn't try to fix anything in each other's life. On her way out, she said, "If you ever hear something like that again, alarm, barking, anything, call me first. I'll get there fast." He lifted the paper cup. "Deal," he said. The city moved past them. Same as always, sirens in the distance, a bus sighing, a kid on a bike, to people arguing about a parking spot, a dog pulling toward a tree. It wasn't peace. It was normal. For that day, it was enough. Jake woke up before sunrise, out of habit. The shelter was quiet except for one guy snoring and the hum of a soda machine down the hall. He rinsed his face in the bathroom sink, pulled on the same jacket, and walked out to King Street. The air had that cool snap it gets before the day remembers its summer. By 8, he was sweeping the hardware store side lot. He liked simple jobs people wanted done now, not later. The manager Daryl stuck his head out and handed him a coffee. "You're on the news," Daryl said. "Not your face. Your elbow and a line of your jacket. Unhoused man rescues officer's dogs. They didn't say your name." "Good," Jake said. "I didn't ask to be in it," Daryl nodded. "I put your name on the Saturday list. Cash? 5 hours. Sweep, break down boxes, help load mulch if anyone shows up in a truck." "Thanks," Jake said. Around 9, Officer Ramirez pulled into the alley behind the store and stepped out. No lights, no radio. He stood with his hands in his pockets, not looming, not apologizing yet. "Got a minute?" Ramirez asked. Jake leaned the broom against the wall. "Sure. I put it in my report," Ramirez said. "The cuffs, the call, the part where you didn't fight. I wrote that once Officer Carter ID'd you as the caller, we uncuffed. I wrote that you pointed us at cameras that paid off. For what it's worth." "Thanks," Jake said. Ramirez looked at the asphalt a second. "I'm not going to tell you I wouldn't cuff you again if I hit that scene blind. I would. That's the job and the risk. But I'll try to look farther than the easy story next time." "That's all you can do," Jake said. "Look again." Ramirez nodded like that landed. "If you need a copy of anything for a shelter placement or ID voucher, Carter can get it." "So, can I ask?" "I'll ask her," Jake said. Ramirez left. Jake went back to sweeping. The streets don't change because one sergeant says the right thing. They do shift a little when 2 or 3 do. By afternoon, the arson unit had the house wrapped in orange tape and plywood. The official origin report read, "Ignition source, poured accelerant near rear threshold. Pattern consistent with deliberate application. Stove ruled out." A CSU tech matched a partial shoe print near the back door to a pair Hale had worn in a booking. Photo 2 years earlier. Probation confirmed he'd missed 2 check-ins and had been warned he'd be in violation if he missed a third. Crews logged the corner store footage, the dentist office footage, and a dashcam shot from a patrol car idling at an intersection a block away. That caught the Mitsubishi's broken taillight at the exact minute the smoke alarm timestamp said it went loud. That night, Emily typed the supplemental report clean and flat. Statement of Nolan. Jake, observed male in gray hoodie and black cap with white M side gate approx. 30 minutes prior to alarm. Male held phone in left hand, wore black band on right wrist. Nolan later entered residence to remove 2 dogs. Called 911 from residence phone. Remained on porch. Detained and then released. She attached the photos of Scout and Dot at the vet, both clear lungs. Mild irritation only. The next day, the prosecutor requested a protective order keeping Hale away from Emily and her property. The judge signed it in a 5-minute hearing. Hale sat in a video booth at the jail and stared at a spot on the wall. The public defender squeezed his shoulder and talked about discovery and options. Hale kept saying, "I didn't mean to," which is not a defense against a fire report. 3 days later, Emily showed up at the shelter with a manila envelope. Night manager Tony waved her in. "Is he around?" she asked. "He's upstairs," Tony said. "Room 12 tonight. We moved him off bunks. Quiet floor." She climbed the stairs. Jake stood in the hallway rolling a paint chip between his fingers. He'd been helping Tony pick a color for a patch job. "I brought you something," she said, handing him the envelope. He opened it. Inside, a temporary ID voucher application with a note from the department covering the fee, a letter from the shelter confirming residency, and a form for a city day labor registry that gave preference for municipal cleanup shifts. "You didn't have to," he said. "I wanted to," she said. "The ID gets you a library card, a bank account, a lot of doors. The day labor list pays the same day, even if the job is 1 hour." He nodded. "I'll fill them out. I also brought this," she said, holding up a pack of cheap phone chargers. "They always end up disappearing, so keep one on you and one taped under a cabinet." He cracked a smile. "You've done this before." "My brother did to tough years," she said. "Same tools." He swallowed whatever question followed that and just said, "Thank you." They walked down to the kitchen and sat at a metal table. Tony poured coffee. "How's the house?" Jake asked. "Bad smoke," she said. Kitchen is torn out. Insurance is slow. I'll be in a small rental for a bit with Scout and Dot. They hate it, but they'll adjust. You working? He asked. I'm on light duty this week, she said. Paper, phone calls, no patrol. It's not glamorous, but it keeps me moving. I'll be back in a week. A volunteer poked his head into the kitchen. Officer Carter, there's a guy in the lobby asking for you. Says he's the dentist from the corner office. Has AUSB for you. Emily stood. That'll be the extra angle on Hale's cap logo. She thanked Jake and walked out. He stayed with Tony and filled out the forms with his slow, neat letters. He wrote his social down from memory. He checked the box that said, willing to accept outdoor work, refuse heavy lifting, and then scratched out, refuse, and wrote limit because sometimes heavy lifting happens whether you plan it or not. The dentist USB drive had better footage of Hale's profile. Cruz ran it against booking photos. It pinged. They added an enhancement of Hale's wristband. The fitness tracker company answered a subpoena with a time-stamped log, showing heart rate spikes at the exact minutes he moved past the camera. And then again, near Emily's address. The public defender winced when Cruz slid that across the table at the second interview. Your client pleaded out to a different case last year, the PD said. He should consider it again. Hale stared at the wall. Meanwhile, the online chatter had already chosen sides the way online chatter does. He set it up to look like a hero versus he saved dogs. Shut up versus cops protect their own versus cameras don't lie. Emily didn't read comments. She had to make space in her head for actual tasks. She also had to deal with the neighbor's video. It was awkward footage of a man in a soot-streaked jacket, holding the dogs with both hands cuffed behind his back, and then getting uncuffed. When a woman in plain clothes told the cop to, someone sent it to a local station. The station ran it with a decent voiceover. Initial confusion led to detention. Call logs show the man used the homeowner's phone to call 911. The man is credited with removing the homeowner's dogs from the residence. They used the word credited, which is not how credit actually works, but it read better than nothing. 2 days later, Emily walked into the captain's office for her check-in. He was a practical man who didn't waste words. You okay? He asked. I'm fine, she said. Dogs? Fine. House? Torn up. It'll get done. He nodded. I read your supplemental. Good report. Thank you. He tapped the manila folder on his desk. We put in for a small commendation for the civilian, he said. Nothing fancy, just a certificate and a grocery card. We can't do cash, but we can do a thing that helps. He won't come to the station for a ceremony. Emily said. I figured, the captain said. We can bring it to him, then not bring a camera. Do it that way, she said. That afternoon, she and Ramirez walked to the hardware store with a plain white envelope and a cheap paper certificate with a gold sticker on it that said citizen recognition. The grocery card inside had $200 on it, which is the difference between a problem and a solution for 2 weeks if you count right. Jake was loading bags of mulch into the back of a minivan when he saw them. He finished, thanked the customer, and wiped his hands on his jacket. Don't make a big deal, he said. We won't, Emily said. She handed him the envelope. This is from the department. The captain didn't want to insult you with a handshake and not help, so he sent something that helps. Jake opened the envelope, looked at the card, then at the certificate. You could have kept the paper, he said, almost smiling. Yeah, she said, but someone would have logged it and called me in to ask why we didn't do the paper. He tucked the card deep in an inner pocket. Thank him. I will, she said. Tell him we're fine, Ramirez added. No cameras. Noted. Emily said. News about Hale got worse for him and clear for everyone else. In his second interview, he admitted he poured a little gas and thought it would scare her. He insisted he didn't plan to hurt the dogs. The DA didn't care about his plan. The DA cared about the lab confirming gasoline residues on Hale's hoodie sleeve, and the fact that a fitness tracker put him 5 feet inside Emily's gate. The DA added another charge, aggravated arson, occupied structure. Even if Emily hadn't been home, the charge still sticks when a dwelling is involved. The public defender whispered, take the deal, and circled the number. Hale stared at the wall longer, and then signed. 2 weeks later, Emily stood in a courtroom, watched Hale plead, answered to boring questions from the judge, and walked back out into a hallway that smelled like old carpet and new coffee. She texted Jake. He pled. Dogs are fine. Want that burger? Jake answered. Yeah, same bench. They met at the bench by the burger stand. She brought the paper bags. He brought nothing, and that was fine. They ate, watched buses empty and fill, watched a guy play bag guitar near a fountain, and didn't talk about Hale. You get your ID? She asked. Temporary paper, he said, patting his pocket. Card comes in 2 weeks. Good, she said. We'll get you a bank account. No more envelope under a mattress. You think I have a mattress? He said. You're getting one, she said. Daryl told me he has an old one from the display bed in aisle 9. I told him to deliver it to King Street tonight, bossy, Jake said. Organized, she said. He nodded. Okay. One day, the city workers rolled up to the shelter with rakes and neon vests. The supervisor checked a list. Nolan, he asked. Jake raised his hand. The supervisor handed him a vest. Light cleanup at the Riverside Park, he said. 4 hours? Sign here. Pay is same day. Pick up at the trailer at 3. Jake signed. The work was simple grabber tool, trash bags, paper cups, a few wet hats people dropped, the usual. He liked the way a full bag felt like proof. At 3, he picked up his pay at the trailer. He handed half to Tony for the shelter's kitchen. Tony tried to refuse. Jake left it on the desk and walked out. Later that week, Emily's house smelled like primer. A contractor and his crew put up new drywall and ran a dehumidifier. The back door frame was new and solid. Emily installed a security camera at the gate she could check from her phone. She didn't put a sign up about the camera. She didn't need to. On Saturday, she brought Scout and Dot to the Riverside Park while Jake raced. Scout ran in loops like he'd invented the idea of running. Dot sniffed the world like it owed her a map. Jake waved once. Emily waved back. Neither felt like they had to say more than that. Dot a week after that, the hardware store got busy with the mulch sale. Jake loaded bags, broke down pallets, and took a 20-minute break on a stack of lumber. He felt his back complain and told it to wait until 8. Daryl dropped onto the stack next to him. I heard Carter's house is almost livable, Daryl said. Almost, Jake said. She'll be back in next week. Dogs will own the couch. Daryl nodded toward the street. You saved those dogs and probably the house. Don't argue. Just hear it. I hear it, Jake said. I don't need a parade. Good, Daryl said. We don't have budget for a parade. They both laughed, short and easy. That evening, Emily showed up with a small box. She set it on the tailgate of a truck where Jake was coiling nylon rope. What's that? He asked. Just open it, she said. Inside, a basic prepaid phone with a small balance and a printed sheet with 3 numbers. Emily, the precinct desk, and the shelter. You don't have to use it, she said. But if you hear something to get alarm, yelling, anything, you won't have to borrow a landline. He looked at the phone and then at her. I'll use it, he said. I'll keep it off unless I need it. That's smart, she said. Also, he added, if you need someone to sit on your porch while the contractor finishes, I can sit. Dogs know me. I can read a book and scare away kids who like plywood. I'll take you up on it, she said. One late afternoon this week. 2 hours. I can pay you what I'd pay a stranger. I'd rather not pay a stranger. He nodded. Deal. They did it on Thursday. Jake sat on the porch with Scout passed out at his feet and Doc curled up against his sneaker. He read a paperback someone left in the shelter library. He drank water. He watched teenagers pretend not to look at the police car that rolled by. He watched an older couple walk a poodle that hated the world. He watched the contractor's truck leave on time. He locked the new back door. When Emily came home, he handed her the key. She handed him an envelope with cash and a note, thanks. Dogs say hi in their sleep. A month later, Hale was sentenced. The judge spoke in a slow, practiced voice about consequences and prior conduct and the difference between anger and impulse, and the line where both become felonies. Hale stared at the wall. The public defender put a hand on his arm. Emily didn't feel anything like victory. She felt tired and then normal. She texted Jake. It's done. He replied, okay, dog's good. She sent a photo of Scout upside down on the couch and Dot staring at him like he was an idiot. Jake sent back figures. Summer slid into fall. Jake kept the city cleanup gig 2 days a week and the hardware store on Saturdays. He moved from the shelter to a room above a church on a month-to-month arrangement. That came with a key and a rule about quiet hours. He liked the rule. He kept the phone Emily gave him off most days, taped a spare charger under his cabinet like she said, and checked the gate cam for her when she texted travel. You good to peek? He was always careful about how much he said in text, gate clear. Mail on Matt. One evening, he and Emily ran into Ramirez outside the coffee shop on the corner. Ramirez had a to-go cup and end-of-shift eyes. How's the line at your place? He asked Emily. Back door is new. Kitchen's halfway there. Dogs think plaster is a food group, she said. Ramirez looked at Jake. You hear anything else unusual, call dispatch. Or me. Jake lifted the prepaid phone out of his pocket and put it back. I will. Ramirez nodded, started to walk, then turned back. Hey, he said to Jake. I meant what I said about looking twice. Thanks for the reminder. Jake shrugged. Thanks for saying it. Ramirez left. The city HUMMED on a cold morning in November. Emily taped a small card on her fridge. Call Jake if alarm plus dogs inside plus I'm out. She wrote his number below it. She took a picture of the card and sent it to her own phone so if the kitchen ever burned again, her plan would live somewhere fireproof. Jake kept sweeping, lifting, raking, sitting. He didn't tell the story of the fire unless someone asked. When they did, he said what he always said. I heard barking. I opened a door. If they pressed, he added. A lot of things after that were other people doing their job. He didn't say his job had been ignored and then respected. He didn't need to. What changed was small but real. The barista kept a charger behind the counter labeled JN. The hardware store manager wrote Jake Saturday on the whiteboard like it was any other schedule. The night manager at the shelter kept a bed open one night when the church bathroom flooded. The captain at the precinct sent a one-line email after the commendation envelope. Tell Mr. Nolan thanks. Quietly. Emily forwarded it. Jake replied, heard. Scout learned a new habit. When he heard the trash truck or a ladder clank in the alley, he went to the front window and looked out, ears up. If he saw Jake across the street sweeping, he wagged once and went back to the couch. Dogs write their own versions of a neighborhood map. This was his stayed suspicious of leaves, suspicious of squirrels, suspicious of air. She made a grudging exception for Jake's shoes. The house got fixed. The scorch mark on the floor by the back door stayed under a new rug. Emily didn't cover it because she was ashamed. She covered it because some marks tell you everything you need to know the first time and don't need to be explained again. On a gray afternoon, Emily and Jake walked Scout together around the block. No cameras, no sirens, no fire, no speeches. Just a cop and a man with a broom crew badge on a lanyard, moving at the speed of a dog, talking about nothing that would ever be in a report. That was the point, not the headline. The day after,